Hey, how's it going, Alaina? It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. How's it been?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm a big fan of your work.
Oh,
Honestly, I
thank
see you're
you.
doing a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, thank you. I've also seen
Of
what you've been
course.
doing, and I think that's awesome. It's something that I've always wanted to do, so I love it.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah. Tell
definitely.
tell me more like about like how you got started. I'm really curious.
Well, I actually started on YouTube a few
Mm-hmm.
years ago. I was first like singing in the church choir and
Yeah.
everything, but then I kind of went away from that and started making my own YouTube videos because I knew that I didn't want to like sing in a choir. I wanted to kind of have my own like career and my
Uh,
own music and everything. And the first thing for me was to start on YouTube. So that was like 2 or 3 years ago, and then
wow.
I recently like signed with my producer and my managers and everything, and now I have my first little album out and everything. So it's been like a very long road, but it seems like
Yeah.
everything's been going by so fast, especially because of quarantine and everything. When did you kind of decide that, you wanted to start helping people and giving back and like doing these things on social media?
So it actually all started during COVID. I was actually scrolling on TikTok, and at the time I had around like 200,000 followers. I felt like I was able to do something like much more impactful with that amount of people, following me. And I came across a few creators who are actually, taking donations from their following and just giving
Mm-hmm.
back to their community. And I thought that was amazing. So one day, I decided to take $100 out of my account and just go to my local, street vendor and give them those $100. And I recorded it in hopes to be able
Mm-hmm.
to post it on TikTok and maybe inspire people to donate. And since that day, I've been able to do so much through the platform. When did you start on TikTok?
Ooh, like right when I moved out to LA, maybe
About
like a
like a
year
year
and a
ago,
half
year and a
ago
half.
or
Okay.
so.
S-
Yeah, 'cause I was kind of blowing up then, and we were like, okay, what if like I post my covers and stuff on there and see how that goes. Yeah, but I think it's like super cool with what you've been doing because anytime somebody sees a video like that, they're just like you want to watch until the end to see their reaction, and then it does like it inspires you to want to make those videos, but coming from like your background with
Yeah.
Mexican immigrants and having to go through life seeing that and seeing like what it can do to somebody, what do you think like from that has helped your creative process and kind of inspired your like gift of giving?
So, I mean, I think the way it inspired me personally is just to want to be able to help more people. My family literally came from nothing. They came to this country just with a dream. And,
Mm-hmm.
seeing and like hearing, the stories of my family from their upbringings to where they are now, like it's just a huge inspiration to me. And I think with my platform, I think I just want to bring like awareness to the struggles that immigrants may face, and that's really what drives me to keep going and to continue helping
Oh
out
yeah.
more people in the community. It's crazy how TikTok has really been like allowed me to help so many people, because the platform is really the only reason I've been able to do anything. I think it's just so cool how you get to share, your also your part of your Latino culture. And how is it that you like share that with your like audience?
Whenever I was first learning Spanish, because my dad never taught me, so I had
Oh,
to learn like online and in high school and everything and
gotcha.
speaking with friends. There would be little checkpoints that I would face where I'd be like, oh shoot, like I understand this and I'm able to speak to my family now and
Yeah.
everything. So it's like the sense of pride that you're able to connect to that part of yourself.
Yes.
And I think that comes across in my music and the lyrics that I write because I'm thinking for, that Spanglish community that is
Yes.
maybe not a part. They're like they feel bad because they weren't taught Spanish growing
Yes.
up, and I'm just like, yo, it's okay. Like I wasn't either.
Definitely. And like, have you ever felt like, like maybe when you first started, did you ever feel like kind of shy to kind of bring that into your art? Since you weren't taught the language.
I was shy, but it's the part of breaking out into something new and creating something new, and I think
Definitely.
that's where you get your confidence from, definitely. What do you think almost like the biggest problem facing the Hispanic community is?
I feel like there's at times where our entire community is not united, and
Mm-hmm.
there's sometimes it feels like there are people who are against their own in a way. I feel like our voices are being heard in this time more than ever before, and I just want us to rise and be able to share our culture and be able to come together as a community and just be amazing. What about you? What would you like to see, change in the Hispanic community, and what would you say is like the biggest struggle that we face?
I definitely think it's coming together, realizing that we're on the earth to make new experiences and to live and to grow.
I agree. 100% agree.
So what's been like one of your proudest moments or something that you've like walked away from and been like, oh shoot, like that's definitely gonna stay with me for a while.
Like the moment that I can think of in particular is when I raised $20,000 for one vendor, and I handed it to him in person in cash, and like it was just so amazing to see like how the community came together to just help this one man from this viral video. I literally handed that man more money than I made that year, and it was, I don't know, it was just so awesome to me.
For this generation and for the future generations who view your TikTok videos, what is like one message that you want them to take away from that, or that you want them to feel inspired by?
I think my ultimate message is like, you can be the change. I think us as human beings sometimes kind of undermine like what difference we can make in the world with just our small contributions. In my videos, I hand $1,000 to a street vendor, but obviously not everybody can do that. And I guess what I would want to say is that like even like if you tip someone like $5, $3, whatever it is, like you're still making somewhat of a difference. Do you have like a one artist, like a musician, that has inspired you with your art?
The Beach Boys, Elvis Presley, like it's all of those just ones that your parents would turn on in the car or
Yeah,
something
the
like that.
classics.
I've been like watching Rosalia. What she's doing is so sick because right whenever she came into the scene, she just had something that was like completely different and not weird, but just very like abstract.
Are you by any chance a Selena fan?
I am. Her start to her career is kind of how I'm doing it as well because she didn't really speak Spanish. She spoke it a lot more than I did, but like going into it, that was something that she was scared about, thinking like people are gonna know that I like can't sing it the same or something like that. So she's just been something that I've looked up to because of how amazing she was and, this legacy that she left behind after beating the odds, basically.
You had mentioned earlier that you had started singing at your church. So did that have any sort of influence in the music that you make today?
Obviously, choir music or the music that like we used to sing in church, it was very like you were in a group, you had different sections and everything, and that was something that showed me that I didn't want to keep going in that direction, and I wanted to kind of break away,
Gotcha.
and like switching from singing in the church to singing pop music is different, especially like for your parents who are listening to
Oh
your
yeah.
music.
Did your family like have any thoughts on that? Like when you decided that you no longer wanted to go in that direction?
For them, me singing in the choir wasn't really anything serious. They didn't think that, I was going to make a career out of doing that or something. But whenever I first wanted to switch over to YouTube, my mom was very, because the internet can be a very dangerous place. Anytime I wanted to post a video on YouTube, my mom would just be like, make sure you don't care about your appearance, make sure you don't like listen to the opinions of others, like you're perfect the way you are. And I mean I knew that because like social media is not a place to joke around. Like you never know what's gonna happen.
Yep.
But whenever I first switched, they were a bit like held back, and then whenever they realized that I could start paying for my apartment and like my college and everything like that, they were just, I could like see it in my dad's eyes. He was just like, mm,
Okay.
okay.
It's like, all
Yeah.
right.
I was like, okay, like, so if you had any advice to people who are starting to become content creators, what would the best piece of advice that you could give be, and then what social media platforms do you think
Yeah.
are the best for that?
I mean, I think as a content creator, like the biggest piece of advice that I could give someone who wants to start is to just find and make content that you're genuinely passionate about. I know like many people will probably go into it just wanting, the numbers. They're like, oh, I want 1 million followers and I want the views and all this and all that. But, it at the end of the day, if you're not making something that you're genuinely passionate about, you'll either, burn yourself out at some point. And don't get me wrong, even when you're making content that you love, there's ups and downs with it as well. And but yeah, I think if you're really loving what you're doing, you'll be resilient through anything that you kind of face during uh, your content creating times and things
Yeah.
like that. What is your like relationship with like your fans and your followers?
Yeah, when I first started on YouTube, that was like the best thing for me because I only had like 80 subscribers or something, but I would get
Yeah.
10 comments per video, and I would always go through and like them and comment them. And then whenever I think I went to college and like my YouTube channel kind of started to blow up a little bit more,
Okay.
I remember I would just sit in class and I'd just go through all the comments and like heart them and then reply. And so now I have this app called Community where I can like give them my number and just text them. And it's just fun to go and talk to them on there. Like they'll sometimes
Yeah,
come to
yeah.
me with, you know, things that they're feeling, things that they're going through. And like it's like a little outlet. And they've definitely been a part of this whole process for me. And it feels more like a family now.
And do you have like any future projects that you have coming up?
By the end of this year, I'm gonna have a new song out, and then in November, going on my second tour ever. So I'm really excited about that. Super excited to just like see my fans in person and talk to them, and yeah, because the meet and greets are always like my favorite part of that. So I'm excited for that. But what about you? What do you have coming up?
I just have like some goals before the end of the year.
Oh
I
yeah.
want to at least have donated a total of $200,000 to street vendors. As of right now, we're at like 130,000, so we're like
Oh
70
shoot.
shy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're about 70 shy. But other than that, I also want to do start doing a few other different things with the platform and maybe paying some strangers rent this year. Just something cool. I don't know. I just want to spread out some positive vibes. It was such a pleasure to talk to you, Alaina. Honestly, like the conversation we had was amazing, and
Oh yeah.
hopefully maybe we can do this again sometime.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much, and I'm wishing you
Of
all
course.
of the best luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you.